Hello and welcome to the Northern Souls podcast. I'm your host, Zeke. I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping for my 7 subscribers. Uh, my wife and I are getting ready for a big move out of state, so we may not be uploading as much content, or if we do, it's probably going to be kind of sporadic for probably the next few weeks. I apologize in advance for this. Anyways, moving on. What I wanted to talk about today has to do with toxic people in paganism and knowing who you should listen to and when. This is something that has been on my mind a lot recently, and I wanted to share my experiences with you all and talk about some realizations that I've had in my personal spiritual journey. So, I've said previously that I've followed this way for 13 years now. And to be totally honest, I often feel like my knowledge and personal growth in this path is quite stunted. This is because for 12 of those 13 years, I belonged to a kindred led by a person who I looked up to and respected greatly. I often just took him at his word and never really questioned anything he said. And because of this, especially in my early days in this way, I didn't really bother with doing my own research and exploration in this way. Because this person's word was like gold for me at the time, I figured I didn't need to. In fact, anytime I would look stuff up on bloats or the gods or goddesses, I would immediately disagree with anything that did not match up completely with what I had been taught, even if the information I had found had come from a very authoritative source. It took me years of dealing with this person to figure out that he largely made things up without saying that it was made up. Took other people at their word who weren't authoritative or confirmed his biases, similar to what I was doing, or read way too deeply into things. If you're the kind of person who enjoys going down a rabbit hole that doesn't exist, he would be the perfect companion for you. Um, he was also quite dismissive of anything that didn't line up with his worldview totally, and had an unearned sense of intellectual authority over others, and was rather controlling at times, even though he would swear that he wasn't. One of the things that took me a long time to notice is that more often than not, new male kindred members wouldn't stick around for long. And for the longest time, I just could not figure it out. I'm just like, oh, what's going on with that? But, it was definitely because of this person. And I didn't really become aware of these red flags until about 4 years ago, and gradually became more aware of all of the problems until I finally just couldn't deal with them anymore. And that was about a year and a half ago, and I ended up breaking ties with him. The reason why I wanted to share this experience with you all is that I wanted to let people know that there are absolutely bad faith actors in this way, and you have to be on the lookout for these people. I don't want what happened to me to happen to other people. A lot of people in the pagan sphere believe that the biggest problem in the pagan sphere, especially Norse paganism, is white supremacy. And while this absolutely does exist to varying degrees in the overarching Norse pagan community, I would argue that it's not the biggest problem. I would just say that it's just good old-fashioned toxic people who are egotistical and narcissistic and presume that they're leaders and are therefore owed allegiance, especially when that position of honor has not been earned. That being said, I certainly don't want to say, therefore you shouldn't listen to anyone. It's about balance and nuance. We all know the saying, even a broken clock is correct twice a day. Just because someone is wrong about something or you don't totally agree with them doesn't mean they are wrong about everything. And the inverse is true as well. And as far as a bit of a confession for me, given my experience that I've just shared, I've become incredibly skeptical towards anyone who doesn't wholly agree with my conclusions. And this is definitely something that I've been trying to work on within myself. And I want to share this with others so you don't make the same mistakes that I've made in the past. You should really approach this way with an open mind and thoroughly examine all ideas you come into contact with and then decide for yourself whether you agree or not. The last reason I'm sharing my experience with you all is that even though I left my kindred, I'm still looking for one myself. I'm not a solitary practitioner since I do practice with my wife, but it's still rather lonely. We don't have a whole lot of people that we can share our common spiritual experiences with. And, it's difficult to find another kindred, especially one that is aligned with your beliefs and values. And in fact, that's actually why I stayed in the previous kindred I was in for so long. I was actually thinking about leaving like 1-2 years prior to when I actually did leave. And the biggest reason why I didn't leave was that I simply didn't want to lose my community. I didn't want to be alone. And obviously, if you're in a toxic environment or a relationship, you should leave because you'll ultimately be better off for it. However, this doesn't mean that you can't find another spiritual home, if you will. It is okay, and I would say you should explore and build a community or kindred if you find it necessary. And that's precisely what I'm doing, and hopefully it'll work out for me in the future. Anyways, I hope you've all found this helpful, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share. I'd be more than happy to answer any or start a dialogue or a discussion. Anyways, I hope this has been helpful for you all, and until next time.